goes international. Today we are hosting our afternoon club on the topic of startup scene. This event is organized together in collaboration with Maria01, Kide Science, and The Shortcut. And my name is Dana Gomberg. I will be your host during this lunch event. For your information, the event will be recorded. Please consider that. Yes. So basically, startup scene. During this event, we together with our guests will explore, could startup lead the way in creating more inclusive workplaces in Finland? Why working in a startup could be attractive, and how to enter this space? Just a few words. For those of you who is joining Mothers in Business event for the first time, let me share a few words about our organization. Mothers in Business is a nationwide network that supports educated and career-oriented mothers in balancing work and family. Our aim is to provide opportunities for skills development, networking, and career advancement. Currently, about Finland stand for genuinely inclusive and diverse work and life culture. Our volunteer during the organization is to integrate international mothers into the Finnish working society and giving them equal chances for balancing family and career. Our agenda today is that we will have a few guests first presenting their stories and opportunities, sharing their tips for entering the startup scene and sharing their journey. The first speaker today is Sari Hurme-Mehtälä, CEO and co-founder of Kide Science. Welcome, Sari. Sari has 15 years of business experience globally and locally in media, retail, design, and IT industry. She has worked in big companies in marketing and sales positions and felt that she wanted to do something more meaningful. So together with her co-founder, she's founded Kide Science, an online platform which provides teachers and parents training and lesson materials to lead playful STEM education for kids from the age 3 to 10. Without further ado, please meet Sari Hurme-Mehtälä from Kide Science.
Hi, everyone. So happy to be here as one of the mothers in business. So I think I'm also the speaker, but also one of the target group persons for mothers in business. This is a picture actually of my family, and this was just took after I made a decision to jump into a startup world and founding Kide Science. So actually where everything started was, even though I had maternity leave from a big corporation called Samsung, I felt really much during my maternity leave after having 2 kids that I really want to do something more meaningful. And I've always urged and had the feeling that I want to found a company, but I didn't have the innovation and idea. But gladly, I actually pumped into 2 other founders through Mothers in Business network. So from the next slide, you can actually see our 2 other founders, which are Jenny and Aino. So I remember that I was actually in a Facebook group from Mothers in Business, and I saw Jenny's post there that Jenny is looking with Aino, a 3rd person, to found a new startup about early childhood science education. And they had already had like years of academic research about early childhood science education. And there was so huge demand for this from the parents who participated in the Kide Science lessons that they needed to build a business, but they didn't have any business background. And that's how then they were asking someone with the marketing and sales background to be the 3rd founder of the company. It was 2017 spring, actually. And then in the end of the 2017, we actually founded the company, and we immediately actually got a funding from Reaktor, which is one of the biggest IT companies, consultancy companies in Finland. So that has kind of led us company journey a lot, that we actually had a really, really amazing kind of a founding partner almost from the investor Reaktor. And that's how we then started to build the business and immediately went for international markets. Of course, Finland is so small company. And then I could talk a little bit more about Kide Science, why we actually do this, and how it all started. So This is quite clear from the research that actually 90% of the young children's brain development happens in the before age of 5. And that's why also we nowadays know that, for example, language learning and all the other learning aspects are really, really valuable to start already in the early years. But the big problem is that how do we actually get the introduction for the children about these different kind of skills and even social emotional learning skills when the children are so young. And Jenny made research about that how should we actually introduce the science for early years, so even from 3-year-olds. And that from the next slide is actually quite interesting to see that we shouldn't actually answer to children's questions, like when they're actually asking something around science, we shouldn't teach them facts or go to Google and actually answer to the questions. Like if they're asking like, how do rainbows form? You shouldn't tell actually the scientific explanation as it is, but actually we should teach the children about science process skills, how they actually can find out themselves about the science around them. The science is everywhere. You can see from the windows, you can see it even in the bathroom when your child is having a bath in the evening. You can actually do some experimenting about floating and sinking and get the interest for the children, how they actually find out something to create those meaningful aha moments. And that's why these kind of science process skills are really, really valuable for young children. And that is the foundation for science education, which was really clear from Jenny's research as well. From the next slide, this is like the one sentence, like what are we actually creating with Kide Science? So we are giving 3 to 10-year-olds scientific thinking skills. And the biggest important thing here is that we do it through play. So actually in every Kide Science lesson, children jump to this amazing fantasy world where through stories, which you can see from this next slide, is that through this story world where there is actually, we have created this fantasy world called Supraland, and then the characters actually have through stories different kind of problems which they encounter in this fantasy world. And there comes actually a letter which then the teacher or the parent can read for the children. And there is a problem which the children actually need to solve. And from the next slide, you can see that we are not teaching about science. We are actually having each of the lessons, which you can do either at the home, or then teachers are doing it in the kindergarten or nursery or school. And each of the lesson actually combines all of these kind of STEAM subjects. It's almost a buzzword nowadays. So we have science, technology, engineering, art, and math. But each of Kide Science lesson actually can include all of these subjects, as we are not teaching subjects, but actually like these different kind of phenomena that the children are already curious about. I bet you all, everybody knows that how many questions actually children ask when they are young ones. They are all the time asking questions, actually like 2 questions in every minute. And then the problem is just like, okay, I'm exhausted, how to actually answer to these questions. And even teachers who are really, really well educated, they feel a little bit of, how to say, not that confident about teaching science because they might not have the science background. And from the next slide, you can see actual that what that actually means when we are talking about Kide Science in action. So teachers or parents, they actually go through our platform before any hands-on activities happen. So they have the training there, lesson plans with video guidance, supply list, not that they actually have to order any kind of boxes full of plastic and waste. You can find every of the supplies at home or from your kindergarten. So we are really much also making the environmental footprint really small, so we are not sending more plastic to the other side of the world. But then the action actually happens through hands-on experiments with the kids there in the classroom or at home with the parent and a child. And then from the next slide, quite many people always ask like, okay, you started from Finland. Education Finland is really well-known brand and the teachers are amazing in Finland. but does this actually work outside of Finland? We have heard those questions also from the investors, also from our customers, but gladly we have seen already that we are not yet even a 3-year-old company, but we have already got customers from 20 different countries, which you can see from here from the map. And also we have done this in Finland quite widely with the private and the public sector cooperation partners, like for example Touhula with the biggest daycare centers in Finland, and then Helsinki City of Salo, and those other public municipalities who are using Kide Science. We have seen the science is actually a global thing. So the children are quite same actually in different countries, but we parents actually are the most different ones. How our ideas, how the education should be in early years or later years, that's actually the biggest differentiation. But we have been happy to see the big impact also from the parents' mindset and thinking, how should we teach children, for example, science, especially in the early years? It should be through play and stories. Well, then from the next slide, you can see that for us as a startup, the COVID also affected our business. Startups are usually really flexible about changing everything, but of course our customers were in different situations. Some of our customers actually needed to close down all their centers or schools or kindergartens. They had to cut their budgets. Even Touhula also in Finland needed to actually close down 40 of their locations. So we were in quite difficult situation during the spring that what should we do? From the next slide, you can see that we have been quite in a changing mode, where we have seen that we have the pedagogical innovation, which actually can be distributed through different channels. So even though the schools or learning centers are closed, we quite quickly realized that we can do this remotely, or we can adapt our product for different kind of use cases and different kind of needs, even families from home. So next slide, you can see that in Finland, actually the first products we made was actually a TV series in Pikku Kakkonen. All the Finnish families know Pikku Kakkonen. It's already 40 years old TV show, and we were part of that. And are still. We just finalized the third season actually last week with 2 other founders of ours, Aino and Jenni, and also we have a book series in Finland in Finnish at the moment. So we have made this possible also for families at home. And next slide, you can see that we actually made everything also possible for our teachers, that they can be even their home doing Kide Science remote lessons to the homes where the children are, maybe even the lockdown, and then they actually can do these experiments even though the school and kindergartens are closed. So we do have also product for families. From the next slide, you can see that we actually have made a product where the parent actually goes through everything, and then they will do hands-on activities with children after the parents have checked the stories and lesson plans and the guidance how to do science activities engagingly. Next slide, you can see also that as a startup, we have received quite many awards, not only as a startup and a business, but also from our content and the innovation, how we have been seen that we are really high impact and high scalability business, which these things are also big things for the startups to win these kind of awards and recognition. But then next slide, you can see that also one of our team members, Helen, who is going to be on the panel discussion later today, that I have to give all the recognition for Helen to actually make these kind of deals happen, that we have had Chinese expertise in our team. So we actually made a huge business potential and deal with the Chinese electronic company who launched Kids Tablet launch, and it's now distributed at the moment to 15 countries, and Kide Science is actually there pre-installed, so the families can then do activities at home with our product through these new kids tablets, which TCL and Alcatel are actually now distributing. There are already decision that there is going to be 5 million tablets before next August to be distributed to 15 different countries. So these kind of huge opportunities we couldn't even imagine a year ago before COVID. Next slide, like I mentioned, Helen, we also have 14 members or 14 team members in our team. Product development team is actually mostly pedagogical people, teachers from the early childhood or the primary, and then also we have the other people from the business like Helen also, and actually I calculated we have 6 mothers in this team. So almost half of the people are also mothers with young kids. And the last slide to actually wrap this all up is that when I decided to jump into Kide Science, I didn't know nothing about kind of education about children, but it's been super, super interesting to see with my kids who are here in this picture that how this actually affects children's mind and their thinking and their curiosity, and how they actually now see the world. They even play themselves with our characters. They play to be a Robert Hoseli or these characters. And I've seen myself how this impacts, and that's been the biggest motivation for me to actually do Kide Science and continue and spread the positive impact for the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sari. I already can see from our chat that the people were writing, thank you so much, that this is such an interesting presentation, and it's definitely really, really inspiring. Thanks for sharing your journey. For our audience, if you have questions to Sari, please type them into the chat, and we will make sure to read them through, and maybe Henrika later will include some of them during the panel discussion. Our next guest today is Kim Oguilve. She is a Chief Marketing Officer at Maria01, the Nordics leading startup campus. Her journey starts at 1990s in tropical Costa Rica and takes U-turn at 2012 in Germany. For the past 8 years, she's been living in Finland. And as a newcomer to Finland, she has experienced the Finnish support system as a single mother and typical work-life struggles inherited to parenthood. However, with eagerness and curiosity to succeed in Finland, she found her home for professional development inside the Finnish Startup Ecosystem. She's eager to share her story. Please welcome Kim.
Hello, everyone. It is super exciting to be here today. And actually, to get started, I just wanted to say that what a remarkable story, Sari. And I must say that it is super interesting that you met your co-founders through this network, which really underlines the importance of these networks when we want to grow our expertise and find different people that can make us feel inspired. So yes, as Dana said, my name is Kim, and I am the Chief Marketing Officer at Maria01, have been there already for the past 3.5 years. And I wanted to go super quickly in 5 points, a bit about my journey, how the hell did I end up here where I am right now, and what has happened in the meantime. So I moved to Finland in 2012. I was previously living in Germany for a year, and as it has happened with many international talents, we meet a Finnish person, we move to the country, and then, you know, the rest is history. Well, as of today, I'm married and I have 3 kids unofficially. 2 of them are not mine, but they are ours at the end of the day. And well, my daughter, who is 7 years old. And I started studying back at home, but you know, the adventurous in me started traveling, ended up here. So then I resumed my studies back in 2014 and graduated 2017 when then I landed my first full-time job a bit prior to graduating. And yeah, have been there at Maria for the past 3.5 years and would love to tell you a bit more about this amazing place. And hopefully this is going to spark some interest in you in this super interesting place. So we can now get started. You can put the next slide. So Maria01, I think if many of the audience here is from Finland, you probably have heard of Marian Sairaala, so the old hospital in central Helsinki, which is where we are currently located. And what do we actually do there? So the whole purpose behind Maria01 is that we bring together the whole startup ecosystem under the same roof. And the reason as to why we do this is because we want to serve as a showroom for the Finnish startup ecosystem and host the best startups in the house, the best corporate partners that startups can work with, a very good network of investors, venture capital companies, and similarly, ecosystem organizations. And we actually have one of those ecosystem organizations talking about this today. And yes, so people, what they do at Maria01, besides, of course, building their companies together with very talented teams, it is to be part of a community where we try to help each other, share the most relevant opportunities for one another, and ideally, collectively grow their businesses. Behind the Maria01 community, there are, of course, values that we as a community try to have present in everything that we do. For example, we are a collaborative community. It means that when you're part of our network, it's really all about sharing and helping each other. We are a very international campus. We have over 30 different nationalities represented inside the campus, sorry. And trust is, of course, a very important value inside our community. And this is, of course, also reflected in the whole Finnish mentality. You have to trust the people that you work with to be able to do things with them. And then we aim for impact and responsibility in the way that we build our companies and in the way that we also lead our teams. As of today, we started rather small. In 2016, even size-wise, things were looking a bit much more smaller, but as of today, we have gathered a really vibrant community of people inside the house, inside 20,000 square meters of space. Currently, we are over 1,300 people. Amongst all these people, think about it, it's founders, their teams, venture capital companies, investors, the people representing the ecosystem organizations. I dare to say that this is kind of the mecca of everything startup related here in Finland and in Helsinki. And other than that, a very important thing to mention of how we select the people that comes to Maria01 is that, of course, because we want to have the best of the best and provide this environment to promising companies, is that we do select every single startup company that comes to our community. But other than that, what do the companies inside our community have access to? So access to capital, and basically that is because all the different venture capital companies that we have in-house are just right next door to the startup companies. Access to talent, we collaborate with different organizations that of course serve also as a pool of talent for the startup companies in-house. Furthermore, being part of the community serves as a big network of people where the startup companies can find their next employee. And of course, access to network is due to the fact that we collaborate with so many different corporate organizations, service partners, and the extended ecosystem to always know who is the right person or organization to help our startup companies fill a gap or solve a problem. And employee well-being, when of course we have fun stuff at Maria01 as well. We have a gym, we have a chill room inside the house. So there is always the possibility for the people inside our campus to take a break, take a 10-15 minute exercise time and come back to the office. And of course, being such an important place for the ecosystem, then we're able to attract a really big array of media opportunities for the startups as well. And we want to be that first place when thinking of a journalist coming to Helsinki. So where does he look for the best startups that there is in Finland? So being at Maria01 opens you to many different possibilities. As a community, then of course we host different kinds of activities for all our members. Then we have 4 different concepts. For example, the office hours. These are sessions where you can meet up with our service partner network and really get advice on many different topics that are relevant to you as a business. Then community breakfast, which we actually had just last week, is a gathering of all the Maria 01 members once a month, where we get to have a different array of speakers and we discuss timely topics inside the ecosystem. For example, last Friday, we were discussing about how to build an inclusive and diverse company culture. And then we also have peer-to-peer calls. The startup founder and CEO calls were actually a result of the pandemic. We were thinking, now that our companies are struggling, we really need to help them as much as we can. But in order for us to help them, we have to listen to them. So these calls, they have been running already for a bi-weekly basis together with our CEO. And this is really a point in which we share different opportunities and share advice related to, for example, applying funding to different entities, etc. And then the investor collective, what it does is that it brings together the different venture capital companies and investor networks at Maria 01. And these are also monthly sessions where each of our VCs will host a session together with some of their portfolio companies to share advice that is relevant to also growing your startup. And well, to be honest, already for the past 3.5 years, we have also been working on, well, expanding the campus. This, of course, did not happen overnight. And it was until this year that the city of Helsinki finally gave the green light for this next stage to go forward, which is basically the expansion of our campus. At this point, as I mentioned earlier, we are currently occupying around 20,000 square meters of space. But because for the past 3.5+ years, we have also been struggling with welcoming more people to the community and adding more space, then the city of Helsinki already for the past 2 years noticed that there was a gap. What do we do with the companies that come to Maria and have to leave right after because they grew out of their space? What do we do with those companies? And this is when the campus project was actually then launched. It was an open call for different private entities to think of putting together a consortium that would give an idea of what could actually be developed in the rest of the old hospital campus. And yeah, then this consortium was basically put together with YIT, UIT, with Keva, and with different support organizations inside the ecosystem. And what we aim now is to build the largest startup campus in Europe, where growth companies, startups, incubators, co-working areas all come together and basically then build the next stage of growth here in Helsinki. So we are hoping that that is going to be the case, and we expect the campus totality to be done by 2026. So yes, that is what I had prepared for today in regards to me and Maria 01. Can we take questions from the audience, by the way?
We will take the questions during the panel discussion. So I see that there are already some questions coming up.
Yes.
But first of all, thank you so much, Kim. This is really interesting, I'm sure, especially for those who are not connected to the startup ecosystem yet, to find the place where they can come or maybe attend an online event and really get a closer look to what is up, what are the most interesting companies are out there from Finland. Yes, I can see from the chat that people are writing that what an interesting culture you have built for the startups. Then Sari from Kide Science wrote, even though Kide Science is not from Maria 01, I truly feel that they support all the startups and the future startups founders in Finland. That's really, really nice to hear. Yes. Yeah, but moving on, just to make sure we are on time today, our next guest is actually from is Stefan Cave, who will share a few words about the Shortcut organization, which resides in Maria 01. Shortcut accelerates the talent through tech startups and high growth companies. So many smart and talented people from outside of Finland found their way into the technology and startup ecosystem with the help of the Shortcut. So we really thought it's important to include this organization into today's event. The stage is yours, Stefan.
Thanks very much, Dana. So yeah, hello everyone. Firstly, thanks for having me today. So you can go to the next slide. That's it. So this is me. So my name's Stefan. I'm currently the acting COO of The Shortcut. You can probably tell already from my accent, but I'm originally from the UK, but we won't talk about that. It's an absolute mess. So my lips are sealed. But I moved to Helsinki in August 2019, and unlike Kim, it wasn't for love. So I came here, yeah, because you're right, it's quite common for international people to come here because they meet someone. But I actually moved here with my partner because we fell in love with it when we visited it in 2017. So we have no connection here other than it's just a great place to live. Yeah, and you can see from the photo, and this is really strange, and I must have been in a bit of a strange mood when I wrote this as well, but I have brown hair, blue eyes, and a ginger beard. The ginger beard is the weird thing. I'm not sure why. But yeah, I want to start off by saying that you can connect with me on LinkedIn as well. I'm more than happy to chat to you. So who are we? Who are The Shortcut? So yeah, you can go to the next slide, Henrika. So we're the largest talent accelerator in the Nordics. What does that mean? Well, it means that we equip talent, so people like yourselves, with the skills and networks that you need to become an entrepreneur or to work for one. We're owned by the Startup Foundation, along some of our sister organizations like Maria 01, but also / Junction and Wave Ventures. And we're not for profit, which means that any money we do make, we pump back into the business to serve our community even better. You can go to the next slide. So how can we help you, the people and alumni of Mothers in Business? So as we're not for profit, we offer free events, workshops, co-working spaces, networking opportunities and training programs to support you in your pursuit of entrepreneurship. We're completely indiscriminate, so anyone and everyone is eligible to apply or attend. So I want to talk through some examples here. Thank you for keeping up here. So what kind of activities? So we currently have 6 activities that are centered around entrepreneurship, which is obviously of interest to everyone here today. So we have My Startup Debut, and that's basically a series of inspirational events where current entrepreneurs come and talk about their business and how they did it. And the aim is to inspire you to start your own. Then we have a series of practical events and training programs. We have 4. So we have Idea Development Week. So this is a week-long series of workshops to help you turn your idea into a scalable business. We have Digital Prototyping Week. So that's more centered around technology. So how do you create and test a digital product? And then we have School of Startups, which tends to be a weekend-long program where there are lots of different workshops about how you can create your own business and also create employment opportunities. And then we've currently created a new entrepreneurship program, which started yesterday, actually, but we hope to run more next year, and that's Be Your Own Boss. So that's a more hands-on sort of 3-week entrepreneurship program, which will give you lots of tips about how you can start your business, marketing, sales, growth, etc., etc. And lastly, and we currently don't have a logo for this, but I need to sort it out. But we're based in Maria 01, and we have a public office called the Helsinki Startup Lounge. And anyone is welcome to come and visit at any time, to come and see what Maria 01 is like, to come and meet new and interesting people, and maybe even find future team members. Unfortunately, with the COVID situation, we're closed at the moment, which is a shame. But hopefully in 2021, we'll reopen and you can come along. And then, yeah, how can you get involved? Well, you can get involved by following us on all of our social media channels, like most companies. But I would recommend signing up to our newsletter because you'll stay up to date with everything that's happening and all of our future events. And lastly, you can also contact me directly. I'm more than happy to speak to any of you. So you can do that through my email address, which is there, or you can call me if you like. It's up to you. So yes. That was me. Hopefully that was under 5 minutes. I think so.
Thank you so much, Stefan. It's really, really valuable. All right. So now I would like to invite my colleague from Mothers in Business, Henrika Tonder. She will be curating the panel discussion with our guests. And Henrika, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody. I'm so impressed. I'm like just soaking in the words and the information and the growth stories and the inspiring services and everything you're offering and your vibes. So thank you for that. And yes, we have a lot of questions also coming in. But first, I would also like to introduce Helen to you, who now is joining the panel discussion with Sari and Kim. So Helen is the Customer Success Director in Kide Science. She has a background in applied psychology and English for education. She has over 5 years of experience in the telecommunication industry from a multinational corporation, working as a product manager and product marketing team leader. She started her life in Finland 4 years ago and convinced Kide Science with the idea of bridging Chinese and Finnish culture. As the only Chinese-speaking member in the team, and as you could see from Sari's presentation, she has helped both the company and their partners succeeding in especially the Chinese, but also international market. She is now passionately devoted in early childhood education as a mother of a 3-year-old. And I also heard from Sari that she's contributed in shifting the entire company's working language into English when she joined the team, which I found super inspiring, in addition to all of the rest of her journey. So welcome, Helen.
Thank you, Henrika, for the introduction. It was my honor to join the panel discussion today.
Cool. So I was just thinking, because I saw those questions coming in here. I had some questions in mind, and you can also please send in questions. I have a hard time seeing everything here at the same time. But if someone really wants to also just ask a question, you can, maybe someone like Dana or someone from our MiB team can just keep us informed, and you can ask your question directly. But there are a lot of excited comments about what you women shared, and how the stories are impressive, and how the topic is interesting. So, but I really wanted to sort of use this time now we have together for this panel discussion to hear more about your sort of personal experience and points of views, and maybe just to start this conversation asking Helen, what have you, like, how did motherhood change your way of working, as we're talking to mothers in business here today? Helen, put your mic on, please. Thanks, so we can hear you.
Sorry about that. Thanks for the question also. So I've been a mother for over 3.5 years. And if I recall back then, I used to work a lot overtime. I mean, a lot. And I actually enjoyed of working overtime when I was in China, because I found, you know, the strong feeling of achievement because of the work that I am really good at. But when I become a mother, I have a very strong urge that, no, this cannot work anymore like that. And I have the strong urge to separate the work and my personal life, especially when I am with my son. And I actually very seldom use cell phone when I'm with him. And then, you know, it's actually it's okay for me to like afterwards apologize to the client that, sorry, hey, I was with my son, that's why I didn't reply your message. And people actually understood that, and that I appreciate. And then we all know that the kiddos, you know, usually get sick with unplanned quite often, and I have to, for example, work those hours back in the evening or during the weekend when my husband was on duty. So it's kind of a very mixed lifestyle nowadays, but it gives me the idea that I am a mom now. I can be stretchy, like at work or in life. So that has been the main change of my life as a mother of in business.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And what about Kim and Sari? What about you? Does any of that resonate with you?
Yeah, I can actually continue then from Helen, and thank you for sharing a bit of your story in that sense. But well, the thing is also that I did become a mom at quite a young age. It was a very unexpected thing. I had my daughter at 23. So basically when my whole professional career started, I was already a mom. So it was about then mixing those two different things. But now looking back, I think if anything, becoming a mom has made me more, empathetic and caring in my work life. And I think those are, of course, things that that do matter when you're part of a company, to notice when people are struggling and to, doubt how they tell you how good they are feeling, and you're like, no, you're not feeling good, because when you're a mom, you really have to overthink everything your kids do and what they're thinking. So I feel many of these things that make me like a mama bear, I have really also applied this to my to my work life. And well, furthermore, I think I have become better at prioritizing the things that I do. And it might also sound very weird, but also I think being a mom has helped me to build a better personal brand around myself, because it is, building a personal brand is also about choosing the things where you want people to see you. So I do think that I have become more selective about the things that I do, the people I hang around with, and where I gather my knowledge from, simply because we can't just give ourselves the, cut some slack and just be present everywhere. So I think I've become more selective about many of these things as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you also, Kim, for sharing. And Sari, how does that?
Yeah, I can relate 100% of those, except that I wasn't a young mom. I was already over 30 when I got my first babies, 2 in a row. But I think like the biggest change has been exactly that you can, or I don't need to be a perfectionist. Like I feel like just do something, launch something. Oh, my microphones are not working.
Yeah, we hear you well. Yes.
So yeah, so it's more like that you can be totally okay not to do everything 10 out of 10. Like I think that's also really, really common in startup world, that if you have kids, you have like 100 things on the table. It's like just do something, test with it, and everything doesn't need to be super polished. Also, our home now, it looks nice, but when I open the door, it's like a total mess and chaos. So it's like you have to live with unexpected things, like Helen said, and also the thing that yes, you have to be sometimes with your children and not work. So that is the biggest change, I think.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Sari. And so we hear about like making the difference between the private and the personal life, and then also bringing in humanity in it all, and dealing with uncertainty, and also not having too high standards of yourself and demanding too much, and not being in the perfectionist mode, which often depletes us women and mothers, as we have many demands here and there. I also maybe wanted to sort of like, maybe Sari, you could continue. I wanted to know, I dare to assume that you think diversity is an enriching and a positive and a good thing for a business. Why do you think that is?
I have to say that I still feel almost embarrassed that we are not that diverse team. We are having many white females in our company, actually. Usually the problem is having too many white males in 40s, but we would love to actually have more diversity in our team. But after Helen joined our team, yes, we changed the whole language in our company. Even when we are with only the Finnish-speaking people, we always kind of talk in English. I don't even know nowadays how to tell about Kide Science in Finnish. So that kind of changed the company more international. When you are having people who are not actually talking Finnish, we have 2 other persons also who are not talking Finnish. And the diversity, in a sense that you actually can benefit that hugely with different kind of cultures. Of course, in our case, the biggest help has been that actually Helen understands the business culture in China. So in that sense, but also just the personalities, different backgrounds that really must help us to also adapt for the international markets, because Finland is quite different to any other country in the world, even for the Sweden. So yeah, it's just helped our company, but also I think the team culture, how different people are and how they are still capable of cooperating and that kind of things.
Yeah, thank you. And way to go, Helen, because quite an impressive, to be able to shift the company, a whole company language into English. Nice.
Thank you. Yeah, if I may add up a bit to that as Sari emphasized, that almost get me into embarrassed moment that I'm not so used to being such great compliments. But anyway, yeah, as I myself is the diversity of the company, I really appreciate all those moments that comes with the arguments or mind-blowing discussion because of me bringing new ideas or different culture to the company or to the business, or how we should work. And then the most important thing is that the team is having like the same mindset that it's okay to hear different opinions, and they actually learn a lot from them. So I really appreciate startup culture that it embrace different opinions, and it's very empowering that I being the person that I can actually make a difference into that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I hear also that in the and we're going to talk about, I wanted to ask some questions really about the startup world also, how this all ties together, because I hear that there's this empowerment and there is like diversity, opening minds and enriching each other culturally, the way we think, the way, and this naturally brings me to you, Kim, because I mean, you guys, what did you say? How many? 30 nationalities in Maria 01 and in that startup ecosystem. So that must be quite of an enriching blend of different ways of, thinking and looking at stuff and how to go about it. So I wanted to ask you, what are the main differences between or what are the real value or the opportunities that the startup scene brings to international talent from your perspective?
Yeah, well, that's a very big question. And I think for us inside the ecosystem, this is, at least at Maria, this is something that we really discuss at least once a week. But think about it, the whole diversity and inclusion topic was not even a topic we discussed actively inside our team 2 years ago. And I think the reason for that is, of course, inside our ecosystem, we see a lot of defaults for many of the things. And that is, of course, the actual problem, that inside the ecosystem, we see the same things everywhere. Lots of, all male teams funding companies and getting most of the funding for their companies as compared to, mixed teams or even all female funded teams. So I think inside the ecosystem, that's the actual problem that we have a problem of defaults. And of course, I think the role for us inside the ecosystem is to really start to change those perceptions. And to start with that, for us, gender diversity was, of course, the first way to get started. So to highlight what kind of companies do we have inside of the house, but also what kind of companies are getting funded, for example, outside of our community. So in that sense, representation being a very important thing for us to do inside our communications, but also as part of our brand strategy to showcase that there are different kinds of entrepreneurs. So it's a very diversity as a whole, I think that it also brings so many different benefits, and it's a topic that has been heavily researched, as Sari was also saying, that it helps a lot with with creativity, as Helen was also mentioning, the sort of culture that she's exposed to while being part of Kide Science is also one thing that it also makes people feel more included. And of course, the biggest barrier always being building a diverse team from scratch. But the thing is also that once you take that first step, then you start to attract more people that you want to attract through that. So it's basically always taking that first step and taking a stand into building a diverse company.
Yeah,
not sure if I even answered your question, but
no, I think, yeah, I'm sure people listening got a lot out of that, because, and I really love the taking the stand and making the first step, which are always so important. And I really want to make sure also we hear your perspectives and advice on this, because on the networking, because what we often hear from our mothers in business international community is that one of the biggest challenges is the lack or weakness of networks. And you all touched upon that, or at least like Sari, you mentioned, this is also why I reached out to you, because I'm like, this is such an amazing example of the power of mothers in business, because you said, you just put out a post on a Facebook, or you read a post on Facebook, and that's how it all started. Well, how you found each other. So speaking about networks and professional personal connections as an international talent, I wanted, maybe Sari, you could start. I wanted to hear what advice you have for international talent in Finland, or if you have something to share about networking or creating new connections, as we all know that's really important.
Yeah, I feel that I can speak also from my own experience, that when I was, before this, I found the post in Mothers in Business Network. I was actually, during my maternity leave, I was involved and really active in different kind of networking organizations or groups. I was in these kind of future female clubs or organizations, these kind of groups. Also, I was a brand ambassador actually for one of the baby brands in Finland, almost like doing for free these kind of activities, because I wasn't the mom who wanted to just be at home like 24/7. I actually wanted to do something. I even started a blog and everything like that. So from those networks and Mothers in Business networks, I have started to create the network, which I still use in my company, and like have these different kind of people from different fields. Like as a startup, you are so small team that you cannot, even you recruit Helen or somebody else, like amazing person, you still cannot know everything by yourself. But if you have network whom to ask, that helps a lot. So you should be active and try to be in these kind of events, like what is now happening. Also, what happens in Maria 01, they are having a lot of events and networking events, all these kind of startup hackathons and these kind of things. Also, what Stefan said about Shortcut and their kind of opportunities, what they are creating, and also not to be afraid about kind of being a co-founder for startup, or then co-working for a startup. I think in startup ecosystem, it's really easy for people who are not speaking Finnish in Finland, that they are the ones that are recruiting people and no Finnish language is needed.
Yeah, great. Thanks for the advice. And also now, like Kim and Helen, I wanted to jump on that when we say like, yeah, go network and go to Maria 01 and go connect with people. Sometimes it's like when you don't know that scene and you don't know that world, it feels like, yeah, but who am I going to go and speak to, and how can I start? And maybe you lack like self-confidence in the beginning. What like practical advice could you give to, people who are like, yes, I do want to connect and I know it's important, yet I don't really just know where to start, or I feel embarrassed, or maybe I'm not enough, or all of these things that we all sometimes think. Do you have any practical advice that could help our moms?
Yes. Do you want to go, Helen, or should I do it?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, great. So, well, I think the first thing that I did when thinking that, okay, now I need to look for a job, of course, for me, back then the options were very limited. I had to find the job in English. So that is how I actually ended up inside the startup ecosystem. So my first ever, well, let's say internship was inside a startup company that no longer exists. And I think that first step is really what took me to figuring out what else was behind that, because before that I never heard the word startup. I did not even know what was Slush, the biggest startup event here in Helsinki, and actually even in Europe. There were so many things that I didn't know, but already by you being part of a startup, they are already part of that network one way or the other. So you basically take that in, and that also helps you to validate yourself inside this network. So meaning like understanding who are the people, the organizations that are part of the network, and then become interested in going and check them out, for example. So that is one thing. Apply to startup jobs. Then
thank you. Thank you, Kim. And just before you go, I just go to the next point. I know that Sari has to go to a next webinar that starts.
Oh, yes.
So we will let you go, Sari. Thank you so much for your participation. It was great to talk to you. We could have continued for I don't know how long, but thank you for today, and hope to speak to you soon again.
Thank you, everyone. Please contact
Sari.
me in LinkedIn if you have any questions.
Bye, Sari.
Yes, Kim, sorry to interrupt you. You wanted to add something else.
Yes, no worries. And then, of course, already at this point in time, there are so many different organizations that support this type of networking culture. For example, the Shortcut is a great example. QUS Accelerator, nowadays, they have an internal network where different co-founders can look for other co-founders. So you can, for example, take part in these kinds of programs and already get interested in finding other people that might share the same values and are up to a very interesting project. So you can join them in building their companies.
Yeah, what was the name of that? Can you?
It's called it's called QUS, like the Finnish QUS.
And QUS. Okay.
Yes.
Could you, Dana, write that in the comments maybe for people?
Yes,
absolutely. And I will post it also in the Facebook group, all the links.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I also think a very good, like an essential part to networking is, of course, having an opinion about things, because I also think that this helps you build a person behind you and the sort of person that you want others to relate to you. So that's something that I also decided to do actively, like to showcase my values more actively through the place that I work in, the events that I want to attend, the people I relate myself to. And, I'm very active on LinkedIn and Twitter, and I always share about these things that make me passionate. So I think that's a good thing to always.
That's a really good point. Thank you for sharing that also, to bring yourself and your personality out, to sort of better connect and share who you are and attract people to you as well. Thanks. And just to sort of wrap up, Helen, I'd love to hear some of your, do you have anything in mind about what to do or what not to do?
I would actually like to, well, I can't emphasize more like how supportive the whole society of Finland. It's supporting like foreigners like me, and also for foreigners who really want to make a business out of his or her own ideas. And then I record a story of, well, a period of my life that was quite dark, because I during the first year when I was here in Finland, I couldn't actually know where to go for jobs or for anyone for new networking. But then I just start from the very basic, that I register myself to the DE office, and then there attending a couple events, and I felt that there are so many communities or organizations that they provide all different kinds of support or ideas, and then you start to get clues of where you should go. And besides that, because I was a mother of a infant, then I start bringing him to, you know, to the swimming club or to the muskari, the music club. And then the mothers, after each course, the mothers stay a little while to play with the kids together. And then, just like Kim said, that start sharing your own stories and asking. And that's when I start hearing like, okay, there's actually mothers in business organization or any other, you know, information that you can get. And then one more like personal advice is that just be initiative, take the lead in the relationship of you and Finn, because they are as shy as I know they are famous of being shy, the Finnish people. But when you start to speak up, and they will start also. So then you start to get more, you know, connection with them.
Yeah, and I love that. Thank you, Helen, for sharing also, because I love the way now where we're like closing up for today. We end on a really positive note from you also with the just start somewhere, just like Kim also said, like start somewhere and then put yourself out there and take initiative. And then, as you said, one thing leads to another. Like you don't always have the full picture ahead of you, and you don't have like your perfect network already built up before you even start. You just have to start somewhere, and then that brings you to the next person and next person and next person. So also thank you for sharing your positive experience about you actually found out that there is so much more that is also offered by Finland in the system, and that the people also open up whilst you take the initiative. So thank you for sharing those points. And and this has been really a super interesting conversation today. And unfortunately, we have to wrap up now to respect everybody's schedules. I really loved, and I'm sure like we didn't even have the time to take the questions live from people because I couldn't access the chat here, unfortunately, with the screen sharing on. But there were a lot of enthusiastic comments, and we have shared all your contact information so that you can get in contact on LinkedIn and the other places. So thanks for the conversation. And Dana, maybe you can just quickly mention a couple of upcoming events from Mothers in Business International.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you, Henrika. And once again, thanks to all our guests. The comments in the chat box, we don't have time to read them aloud right now, but it seems to be really, really valuable for the people who attended the event, sharing their stories. And yes, we have plenty of events coming up in November and December. Those are on the screen. They're only the events in English, but we of course have also multiple events in Finnish. We provide we will have the events focusing on their CV and career development with the companies like Zalando and Kone. And then we will have also online language cafes with them focusing on the Finnish language skills and also on other languages. We will make sure to post our event schedule in English to the Facebook event alongside all the links which were mentioned today in the chat, since other people won't have access to those. Thanks again, everyone. Please make sure to follow up Mothers in Business News and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, sign up for our newsletter. Yes, thanks. It was a great event. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Have a great day.
Same. Bye-bye.
Bye.